The tropics continues to be very active out here in the Atlantic. There's multiple areas to watch, but of course the big question is any of this a threat to land? We'll speak on that, get very detailed. We'll also speak on a cold front that's on the way this weekend into next week. And this is going to bring an air mass that's going to make everybody in that fall mood. So we'll speak heavily on that also. We'll talk about today's weather, and then we'll end the video with a Bible devotion. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. It's Friday. Hope you guys are feeling well. I know I am. So let's make sure this is going to work. We're back to looking at the entire Atlantic basin once again. Of course, this is Hurricane Erin. It's racing off to the northeast. Very large hurricane, but it's definitely lost a lot of its tropical characteristics. But this is still bringing some gusty winds. Most of the rain from this hurricane is well offshore. You know, it's not even impacting like Nova Scotia, and it looks like it's going to miss for the most part Newfoundland. But we will speak on this for a couple minutes here in a second. I don't just want to completely leave you guys hanging up here in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, so we'll provide one last video with information on Erin for you guys. Now we have another area to watch right here. This is Invest 90L. It's easy to get them mixed up because you got an Invest right here also. This is 90L, this is 99L. Both of these are not tropical systems yet as far as a tropical storm or depression as of the 5 a.m. update, but we're watching both for possible development. The first area I circled, which is 90L, has a higher shot at development. And what's interesting to me is this one right here. We were thinking maybe a day ago this had no chance. They've actually increased the risk of this developing from the last few updates. Now, I am also watching a couple other areas that's not showing up on your screen yet. We have a lot of just boundaries in place, or really just one, but we could have some more boundaries to get stalled out off the coast of the southeast with a cold front diving down as we get into next week. But right now, I want to watch here in the shorter term, like under 100 hours, maybe a sneaky low pressure developing right into here, what we call homegrown activity. And like I said, as we watch this cold front dive in, which we'll speak on here in a second, next week, we'll kind of almost reinforce a boundary. It'll be a different one. It'll be a cold front, but this could fire off a chance for more homegrown activity, maybe in the same area or maybe here in the northern Gulf. So we'll speak on all this. There's a lot of things to talk about, but of course, everybody's wanting to know, and rightfully so, is any of this really a threat to land, or is this all just going to stay weak or eventually, you know, weaken altogether? Or is this just going to stay out to sea? So we'll speak on all of that. But just want to circle all the pieces to the puzzle out here in the Atlantic. Let's move past this. And, you know, when you look at the outlook, this is the 5 a.m. outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Your initial thought is probably, man, it looks pretty active out there. We got Erin, which we know is moving to the northeast. It's moving away. But we also got this area, which is Invest 90L, has an 80% chance to develop now. Now, the Euro and the GFS still really disagree with one another, but I'm starting to see the GFS once again fold to the Euro. Man, the GFS is just, I don't want to say it's a useless model, but man, you almost want to say that because it just continues just to fold to the Euro. And historically, it's done that a lot, but sometimes it can lead the way, sometimes it can lead the charge, but oftentimes it does not. So we got this, has an 80% chance to develop. We continue to watch it. And this is the interesting one to me. Invest 99L. One would argue this is already a tropical storm. The next name is the F name, Fernand. But it's Invest 99L, and it had I believe at one point a 40% chance to develop, and they bumped it up to a 50. Now it has a 60% chance to develop, and they do think that the environmental conditions is not going to support development from this, but if it can survive kind of an unfavorable time frame, it could enter a better environment maybe as it gets into the Caribbean, but will it survive kind of the shorter term? So there you got this too, but I mean, we're not going to speak on this. Just sort of just an area of low pressure that has a very, very low chance to develop regardless. This stays out in the open water. So we'll continue to move forward. Let's speak a little bit on Erin. I do want to show Nova Scotia. The main rain shield from Erin is well offshore, but it's just interesting. I want to pull up the radar because you can actually see the northern rain shield of Erin, and you can see how close it is, but it just does not look like it's going to make it. Now, could be wrong. It could stretch all the way to the southern coastline, but as of right now, I know a lot of you folks up here in Atlantic Canada need the rain, but of course you can do without the strong winds, right? But it's pretty close, just not close enough, that's for sure. So we'll take a look at one model run, and we'll just take a look at the Euro, and this is starting off right now. How close does the rain get? Well, we take it into tonight. We could get a little rain that makes it all the way to the far southeastern areas of Newfoundland, like the Avalon Peninsula, maybe an outer band or two. We'll see what happens. But regardless, I do think we'll get some breezy, gusty conditions in southeast Newfoundland tonight. And as we start to move into tomorrow morning, I still think we'll continue to get some gusty winds. Might get a little bit of rain that makes it, but I doubt it. I think the core of this system, as far as moisture, is going to stay well offshore. But this will continue, move away, and then we're done with it, and we can finally just completely stop talking about Erin. I know a lot of people are just sick of hearing about it, and I'm pretty much sick of talking about it. But I just don't want to ignore you guys up here. But this is wind gusts. Of course, you guys go off kilometers per hour, and just some gusty winds will continue across the pretty much Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton Island. You'll just get some breezy conditions, nothing that you guys can't handle up here. And then we'll just watch southeast Newfoundland, the Avalon Peninsula, St. John's. You'll get the highest winds out of anybody in Newfoundland. You know, might get a 60 to 90 kilometer per hour wind gust or so. Nothing too crazy, but certainly, you know, some winds that could blow some things around. If you got any loose tree limbs, could knock it down on maybe a power line and just kind of have a incident where you might lose power because of something like that. But, you know, I don't think we're going to get any hurricane force wind gusts or anything like that. I don't think so. We'll move past Erin. The next thing we'll talk about, let's hope I don't get them mixed up. This is Invest 90L. It's tough when you have a bunch of Invest out here. You almost want them just to dub this a name so it makes it easier to separate all of them. But Invest 90L, okay? This actually looked a little bit better yesterday, but still just an unorganized area of shower and storm activity. The reason that your screen changes a little bit, you know, it's black and dull over here. It looks like it lightens up over here. The sun is coming up on the southwest Atlantic. It's coming up pretty much on the east coast right now. So screen is beginning to light up because of that. But just looks like your traditional tropical wave. Nothing too crazy. Might get some thunderstorm activity if you're not already into the northern Leeward Islands. But this is already starting to gain some latitude. It never was very low, very south. So regardless if this develops into a tropical storm or hurricane or not, it looks like it's going to remain out to sea. But an area of interest that we need to watch, point of interest, is Bermuda here in the next couple of days as this turns north and gets very close to Bermuda. But this is it right here, just your typical tropical wave. Let's look at the latest Euro. And this is what the Euro thinks this is going to look like by tomorrow. About the same as it looks right now. Just an area of disorganized shower and storm action. Bermuda's a speck right here, and we continue to move this forward. And could get a little bit stronger, but regardless, it stays well east of Bermuda. And it's hard to even separate this from all this action right here, which, by the way, is that area we're watching off the coast of the southeast. I could see an area of interest being issued for this, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's stay on Invest 90L for now. But this will continue, whatever forms of this, if anything does at all, to sort of just hang out way out in the ocean with the fish and whales and sharks and stuff like that. So Euro has just never been excited about developing this ever. It's really just stuck to its guns. And if nothing ever develops out of this, then tip your cap once again to the Euro, which historically is the better model. Now the GFS still, as we get into tomorrow afternoon, really wants to develop this into an all-out tropical cyclone. But you've seen trends with the GFS already with a weaker scenario. And it does get it close to Bermuda as just a tropical storm, 999 millibar low. That would probably be a weak tropical storm as we're getting into Monday morning. But if you go and look a few runs back, it had this at a category 1 or 2 hurricane a couple runs back. So it's weakened and it's ticked east, which follows exactly what the Euro has shown. But this continues to move north. We got to watch to see if it does get a boost from the jet to the north. And of course, we need to watch our friends up here in Atlantic Canada once again. And this first one is actually from an area of low pressure that could develop off the coast of the eastern U.S. This is not even from 90L. This one right here is from 90L. Okay, so we got to watch some things here. We're going to keep you covered, and we're going to go back to that here in a second. The little area of interest that I guess I've dubbed an area of interest, not the National Hurricane Center, that could get going off the coast of the Southeast or Eastern U.S. But this is, Invest 90L. They all can get very confusing. Could bring some rain, maybe, an impactful storm system for you folks in Newfoundland sometime midway next week. But that moves off and we're done with it. But as far as some spaghetti plots from Invest 90L, some of these runs do get it and flirts with impact with Newfoundland. We certainly need to watch that. But some of these do just keep it out to sea, but we just need to watch this storm for Newfoundland, just like we need to watch Erin in the shorter term. So this will definitely stay out to sea. We don't want to say recurve because technically, I guess you can say it hasn't curved yet. It's funny how y'all corrected me on that a couple weeks ago in the comments, and I thought about it and I was like, you guys are right. But we need to watch Bermuda in the shorter term, and the medium to longer term, we need to watch Newfoundland and just Atlantic Canada. But in the intensity forecast, a lot of them get this to at least tropical storm status, which would allow this to take a name. The next name is Fernand. The next name after that is Gabrielle, I believe. So does 99L take one? Does either one of them take one? We got to figure that one out. But some of these runs do make this to Category 1 hurricane status, and you got one that gets all the way to major status, which is one of the hurricane models here. But we'll move past that. Now, this is Invest 99L. This looks like a tropical depression, maybe even a weak tropical storm. You got a nice cyclonic rotation with this. You can see the curvature to it, kind of doing like this and like that. Is there really anything going on under the hood, though? Is there a defined low-level circulation? Some things indicate that there is, but we got to just wait for the National Hurricane Center, see if they dub this. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time some of you folks watch this video, this is a tropical depression or tropical storm Fernand. I don't think Invest 90L is going to take a name today. It just looks too disorganized, but this has been an interesting little wave. It really has. I mean, it's really just stood the test. I mean, it's really went against model guidance and just has stayed together. We thought by the time it got right here, this was going to weaken. And model guidance still has this very weak right here. But this thing has just continued to do its thing out here. It's just kind of just going against what everybody else thinks it's going to do. So props to this wave for holding its own. But we'll see what happens over the weekend. This is an interesting wave for sure. And this is Invest 99L. Hopefully I don't mix anything up here. And, looking at model guidance with this, because this is a low rider. I wish I could go back if I just clicked off of it. But, I mean, you can actually see the northern end of South America is so low. But the Euro, and all we can do is really look at low-level energy. So this is the energy that you see in the yellow, the orange, the red. And honestly, it is hard to even see it. But this is the energy from 99L. It just ain't much. It sneaks into the Caribbean, but it never develops it. It's really hard to really pick up what's going on with this. And you look at the GFS, we'll actually go back to the precipitation outlook and just kind of watch this area of your screen right here. This is 90L, so ignore that. Does the GFS develop it? Oh, not really. So model guidance just continues to not care about this at all. It just does not think it's going to develop into anything. One thing I will watch is if sort of the, how can I put this? Sort of the, just the core of this, I guess you would say, kind of holds together. The energy is there. And as it sort of just, wherever it is at this point, who knows? But as it sort of drifts down here, kind of into here, does it kind of hold together and eventually have a shot to develop on down the road, maybe in the central to western Caribbean, heck, maybe even sneak into the Gulf. We just got to watch this. I think it's worth continuing to watch because it looks so impressive right now. But, if we look at the spaghetti plots here, it has whatever this is. If it's a storm right now, just an invest, but it has sort of the leftovers of this getting into the Eastern Caribbean. And, we never liked seeing this track. But if we were to take to what model guidance is showing us, we have nothing to worry about. But of course, we can't just look at model guidance and just kind of just hone in exactly on that. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen. We got to watch real-time stuff, right? Because it's real time. So, the ensemble guidance backs up the operational runs. It does not show any members, and this is it right down here. It barely shows any members getting this going. I mean, there's 51 members off the Euro ensemble, and it has like 1. So there's not much of a signal there. And then you look at the GFS ensemble, same thing. I mean, there's nothing there. But it's initializing pretty bad because it looks like a solid low pressure right now. So, I don't say this a lot, but it's pretty wild just how poorly model guidance is handling 99L right now. The next area I want to watch has not been dubbed an area of interest from the Hurricane Center. But I do just want to watch this area, not a good color. I want to watch this area right into here. Okay, and then maybe whatever forms, maybe kind of going off that way. Just stalled boundaries. It's going to be a very cloudy, kind of rainy in some areas weekend for certain areas of the southeast. This is a leftover boundary in place, and we actually have flood watches in place between now and the weekend across areas of Georgia and South Carolina because of this. But as we're getting into the weekend, I'm going to watch for something. You can see a big blob of green, splashes of yellow, orange, and red right here. See if we can get a quick tropical system to develop. And there's a cold front digging down at the same time. A little bit of a merging with energy here, but it does develop. This is the good news for you guys. It does develop some sort of coastal low right here. And for my friends up here and, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, this delivers the boom as far as rainfall. We need rain. This could be a big rainmaker for you guys. This is getting into Monday, next Monday, and look at, it develops into an all-out low pressure. Anything tropical with this? Not sure. It could be, but regardless, this could be beneficial rain, but this also could be a powerful low pressure. So maybe some rain early next week for Atlantic Canada. It's very possible. I want to watch this for you folks. But, we'll just leave it at that. I do want to say, in general, just watch the Gulf. The Gulf has been very quiet so far this hurricane season. But, the GFS, as we get over a week out, is there anything else? I do want to continue just to watch the risk of homegrown activity. You're going to see a lot of moisture kind of draping across the south. This is about a week out from right now. A lot of moisture here, moisture kind of over the deep south states, and some of this can get kind of hung up over the open waters off the coast of the southeast or Gulf for too long and develop something tropical. And I just think it's something to watch. This particular GFS doesn't show anything, but if you do go back and look at the GFS from sort of overnight, it actually spins up a week from today a quick tropical storm and then makes landfall into North Carolina. And I think the pattern would support something like this. That's not me, Mitch, saying that's going to happen. But I do think the pattern could support something like that going into next week and onward. But speaking of the cold front, which I've kind of teased at in the video a couple times, because in a way there is a relation to the tropics, because the energy that fires off these cold fronts, the lifting mechanism, which fires up shower and storm activity, can sometimes get tropical activity going. But anyways, man, what a glorious sight this is, right? And I know I've been hyping up this cold front, but it's legit. It's legit. This is the Climate Prediction Center. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat, I guess. But the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this goes from the 27th to the last day of August. What a wonderful day, a wonderful way to end what can be an extremely hot month, but really has not been a very hot month. I can just speak for the southeast, the south central U.S., very hot. Something about August and you guys are just always a brutal combination. But below average temperatures, the Climate Prediction Center says there's a good probability percent-wise of below average temperatures, especially once you get into the more blue colors here. But just a wonderful pattern. And what's more impressive about this is the longevity to it. I mean, if you go to the 8 to 14 day outlook, of course, once you get further out, the confidence decreases a little bit, so you're not seeing as much of these flashy blues. But this is the 29th through the 4th of September. Still confident in below average temperatures across some of the same areas. And this clears right through Labor Day weekend into the week after. I mean, what a wonderful way to start what I think is the gateway to the best time of the year, which is Labor Day weekend. And to me, that is like the front door to the best time of the year, in my opinion. Everybody has different monthly rankings, right? But to me, man, there's nothing better than September, October, November, and December, in my opinion. But the best way, see if I can say this right because I've twisted my words up the last two videos. The best way to really see a cold front in late August, early fall, and late summer, early fall is dew points. So we know that dew points in the 60s and 70s is very tropical air, very humid air. A lot of people hop on their phone, they immediately look at the humidity percentage, and they think that's the best way to gauge the humidity outside. It absolutely is not. Guys, you can have 100% or 99% humidity, and the temperature is 50 degrees outside, and it's not going to be humid if it's 50 degrees outside. You got to look at dew points. If you look on your app, and it shows dew points on there too, and dew points from the 60s and 70s, then it's probably very humid. And 70s is tropical. It's nasty. Once you get into the 50s and lower, it's kind of a crisp air mass. There's no humidity, especially once you get into the low 50s and lower. So now that we got that out of the way, let's start this off for tomorrow morning. And this is tomorrow morning, guys. This isn't like next Saturday. You can see the boundary of the cold front right here, separating dew points in the 60s with dew points in the 40s and 50s. Now watch what happens here. You normally do not see this sagging this aggressively south this time of the year, but this cold front dives down, and by the time we're into Monday, look at these dew points in the 40s and the 50s all the way for the deep south, and then it blasts all the way through the east coastline. And by the time we are waking up Tuesday morning of next week, August the 26th, I mean, y'all are going to want to be starting to put your fall decorations out. You're going to walk outside, take your kids to school, head off to work, and you're just going to be like, wow, fall is here. Now, we know it's going to get hotter than Hades again, in the south especially, but it is going to feel like fall all next week for a lot of people across the central and really the eastern U.S. I mean, it is just going to be phenomenal. I'm very excited about this. But you keep going and you get all the way into Wednesday. The air mass sticks around. One thing I keep saying is a lot of times when we get a cold front this time of the year, especially for the south and really anywhere, it doesn't last very long. It sweeps in, you get about 1 to 2 days, a few mornings of nice temperatures, and then it immediately gets hot and humid again. This is a little bit different. And if you guys can remember, something similar happened last August. We get into Wednesday, we get into Thursday, just plume of dry air sticks around. Now it does begin to erode and humid air begins to take its spot, but I would watch for things to reinforce this dry air, kind of like a little bit of flow, cyclonic flow off the eastern U.S. that actually can help yank down extra dry air across the eastern U.S. I just think this sticks around for a while. And it goes all the way, you can see a big surge of moist air returning for the middle of the country. But, man, this looks nice. Now, some people might be thinking, Mitch, I don't care about the dew points. What about temperatures? And I don't blame you. We start off tomorrow morning. You got some cooler air. This isn't nothing too crazy for this time of the year up here. But 50s, 40s for the upper Midwest. And then we move into Sunday, even cooler, right? 40s and 50s a little bit further south. Look at Wisconsin, Minnesota. And then we get into Monday morning, deep into the 40s up here. Still very warm as far as low temperatures for the south. And then we get into Tuesday. It just keeps going. We start to flirt with the freezing mark for northeast Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. And it moderates a little bit as we get into next week. And then we start to warm up a little bit, but still very comfortable low time temperatures. Now, what about the high temperatures? And let's back it up a little bit. These are high temperatures for tomorrow, 60s. And no doubt this will sort of kickstart. It's not going to make your leaves change just like that. You guys up here know this. I'm not going to speak too much on that because I've never even been up here. But I know that northeast Minnesota, sort of pockets here and there, the UP and Michigan, northern Wisconsin, are sort of favored areas for the first changing of the leaves. But this is high temperatures. You can see a crazy temperature gradient across the middle of the country. Highs in the 60s, low 70s up here in the upper Midwest. Just very comfortable. It's going to feel like football. Then we get into Sunday. Some highs will not get out the 50s up here. And then we get into Monday. I mean, look at this. Look at this gradient across Arkansas, Oklahoma. Highs in the mid to upper 90s in Dallas. Highs only in the 70s in Oklahoma City. And then we get into Tuesday, and it finally does get all the way down to Shreveport, Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it does begin to moderate as we get later in the next week, but still just very comfortable conditions. And then to speak on the eastern U.S., these are low temperatures. This is getting into Sunday. You can see, here it comes. And this is Monday. Man, breath of fresh air. 50s all the way down to Nashville, points north, and Tennessee points north. Look at these 50s slipping into the Smoky Mountains and the Appalachian Southern Apps. And then we get into Tuesday, 40s, even across the Ohio Valley, low 50s. Look at these 60s and upper 50s getting down to the deep south. And then we get into Wednesday. And I think some of these lows could actually adjust, like Columbia, Augusta. I think we can get lower than this. But 62-degree reading here. And Charlotte, we got some 50s across northern areas of North Carolina. This is just very comfortable stuff. Really, really looking forward to this. I mean, I know I keep speaking on football, and I know some people's like, dude, I don't care about sports at all. But I know a lot of people do. But there's just something special about a cold front linking up with the beginning of college football season. And it seems like we've been very lucky with that over the last few years across the eastern U.S. And we're going to luck out again. So it's just nice. It's nice seeing this is all the way out to about Thursday morning. And this is just crazy stuff, in my opinion. Just the longevity to it is really just the most impressive thing. And looking at high temperatures, here it comes. This is Monday's highs. This is Tuesday's highs. This is Wednesday's. I mean, look, highs only in the upper 70s as far south as Alabama, northern Georgia. I just can't get over this. I'm very excited, as you guys can tell. But talking about today's weather, folks, let's get this in motion. We got a big plume of moisture across South Dakota. We got rain dancing around across areas of South Carolina with a stalled out boundary in place. You can see the northern edge of Erin here. It is going to be a soggy, wet day across areas of Georgia and South Carolina for sure. Just kind of one of those dreary days. If you like a good old cloudy day like me occasionally, you'll like today. But watches, warnings, and advisories, of course, with a big cold front digging down to the central to eastern U.S. Normally this causes a ridge flex across the western U.S. It's actually a classic, what we call positive P&A pattern, which we'll get into that more into the winter. But extreme heat watches up across areas of Washington and Oregon. We got heat advisories in the orange, extreme heat warnings in the purple. We got flood watches in the green. And some wind advisories, it looks like, up here for North Dakota and Minnesota because of this strong cold front moving in. But the risk of severe weather, if you live in this green, this is a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. This does include Arizona, too. And we look at the risk of excessive rainfall. I do want to watch Georgia and South Carolina today. 15% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in any given location. So let's be careful with that. Speaking of the southeast, just a lot of rain dancing around some of the same areas. Got a feeling that my soccer game is going to get canceled again for tomorrow if it rains too hard here in Columbia. We just cannot get our soccer season going at all. Our first game was supposed to be last Saturday. It's probably going to get canceled again. But Florida, a lot of tropical downpours and just rain, sort of just dancing around some of the same areas. Stalled out boundary in place. That's what's leading to this. So just be careful of a lot of rain. This is rainfall for Georgia and South Carolina. I mean, Savannah, Statesboro, 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain. A good bit of rain in these areas for sure. We'll take a look at Florida real quick just to show you guys some attention. And some areas could get a lot of rain for sure. The Northeast, nice day. Fall-like day, honestly. No moisture expected. Look at the South Central U.S. Just your typical downpour activity across southern Louisiana, maybe southeast Texas. Got some storms coming off the Rockies in Colorado. Eastern Colorado getting some storms. Be aware of that. And same thing with southern Nebraska. These could pack a punch. Could wake up to some storms tomorrow in Kansas City. And then we look at the north central U.S. And we could get some storms that fire up. Watch out for some storms firing off this cold front here in the UP of Michigan and northern Wisconsin today. This is ahead of this boundary. A lot of dry air, comfortable air behind this. But you're going to have to deal with some storms this evening. This is this afternoon until later tonight. So prepare for a stormy evening before some nice fall air moves in behind it. But the western U.S., this is what we're looking at. Going to get a little spinning going on right here across the Four Corners region. Some rain associated with it, so you can see that. And temperatures, not too bad out there. Typical summer stuff across the south central U.S. Cooler temperatures across areas of the southeast due to the rain and cloud cover. Warming up a little bit more across the northeast, comfortable day. And then the central and western U.S., it is blistering hot up here for sure. Cold front in the beginning stages of digging down across the north central U.S. But let's go back to this and let's do our Bible devotion. Now, once again, shame on me, guys. I was supposed to wake up at 3:30 this morning. Instead, I woke up at 5:30, and I think my body just sometimes you just gotta listen to your body. And when you need some sleep, I haven't had a good 8 hours of sleep in a long time, and last night I did. But we're gonna still talk on this. But maybe I've done this verse before. If I have, then we'll just do it again. But 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13 says, No temptation has come upon you except what is common to humanity. But God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, He will also provide a way out so that you may be able to bear it. So, just to speak a little bit on this without looking at any of the notes that I did not do, we're all tempted every day in life, whether it's something that whether it's something big or small. I guess I'll leave it at that. Sometimes it's just a temptation to think something about somebody that you shouldn't, to get frustrated about something that you really have no business getting frustrated about. One of my weaknesses is, and I'll be honest, I'm always make myself vulnerable on this channel, as I work a customer service job, and when I'm really, really deep into working on something, and I get a phone call, or a customer walks in, because I have to stop in the middle of doing that. And my first initial thought is I want to be, just irritated that I have to deal with this customer. But then I have to kind of check myself and remember, this is my job. I work in customer service. I got to help this person. But of course, if you're not fighting back those, I guess you would say, temptations to feel sorry for yourself. And this is a very small thing, right? There's much larger things. Then, you're going to suddenly find yourself in a bad routine of just fumbling to temptation all the time and getting deeper and deeper into it. And ultimately it ends up sort of long-term affecting you in a bad way and turning you into a person that Christ does not want you to be, right? Most likely does not want you to be. So, there's larger temptations, right? I mean, there's drug addiction, there's many things out there. So, I mean, even temptations to when you're on a diet and you're tempted to order that pizza instead of stick to your diet. And trust me, I deal with that every day, because you guys, some of you folks know that I take my health very serious, but I know that's just kind of getting off there a little bit, but just know that good or bad, God's going to provide a way out of that situation. And you're going to be able to get through it. It's going to feel unbearable sometimes, but there is a way out. Sometimes that way out is extremely hard, but there's always going to be a way out. He's going to provide a way out. And it just kind of goes back to, what we always say is God's not going to put you through anything that you can't handle. It may feel like you can't handle it, but you can. You just got to dig deep. And that's the thing, is we live in a world today where people do not dig deep. They do not fight back those thoughts. They do not fight back the victim mentality. They just don't fight back. And a lot of things that, you can watch on TV and stuff like that, a lot of things that is being promoted out there, without getting too deep into that, pretty much is telling you that it's okay to feel the way you feel. I mean, you're going to feel the way you feel about something for a period of time regardless. It doesn't matter if someone tells you you shouldn't, but you can't stay down forever. You got to get back up, and God's going to provide a way out of the tough times you're going through. He's going to allow you to beat your temptations, but a lot of times it comes back to comfort. Are you able to fight back your comfort zone? So I know that wasn't as well put together as normal, but that's what I get for not taking notes. So I had to just kind of pull that one out the heart there. But hope that makes sense. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the growth. Thank y'all for everything. And you guys have a wonderful Friday. We'll talk soon.